When you look at how many legendary and iconic songs Red Hot Chili Peppers have released over the years, it's quite amazing. From Californication, Under the Bridge,
I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day.
Scar Tissue,
Scar tissue that I wish you saw. Sarcastic Mr. Know-It-All.
Snow, Danny California, and many more.
Getting born in the state of Mississippi. Papa was a copper and mama was a hippie.
Today, we're going to take a look at recreating one of their most popular songs of all time, and a riff that is even more recognisable than the song itself. Back in 2002, Red Hot Chili Peppers would enter the studio to record their 8th studio album with producer Rick Rubin, and go on to write stadium anthem songs like By the Way, the Zephyr Song,
Can I get your hand to ride on? Just a piece of leg to bite on.
and Universally Speaking. Today, we're going to take a look at Can't Stop and see exactly how Frusciante laid down one of the most iconic guitar riffs and sounds of the past 30 years. From his epic Strat-inspired funk riff, well, maybe Telecaster-inspired, the amazing compressed Fender sound of the bridge, and the ferocious solo that you can't help but be drawn in by. Let's dive right into it. So around the By the Way era, Frusciante was once again in love with his Strat, stating in interviews that the Strat was the main guitar he used throughout this album. But in other interviews, contradicting himself, there's no denying his vintage examples are a huge part of his signature sound. Amp-wise, John is definitely partial to some British Marshall amplification, using loud plexi amps as well as Silver Jubilees to get his famous dirty clean sound. To me, this album sounds like a Strat and a Plexi, but then why does he use the Telecaster so often live to play this song? We'll compare the two models further in the video, but let's get the amp and pedal set up right first. Amp-wise, I really believe John would have been using a Plexi of some sort, perhaps his 200 watt Marshall Major head. The amp sounds like it was mic'd up with two different microphones and panned left and right, but there could also be a second amp in the mix. Pedals wise, it's safe to assume he had the preamp sounds from a CE1 running the entire time, as that's a huge part of his sound. For that, I'll be using the Boss Wazacraft booster / preamp in the CE1 setting. Again, we come to the compression part. John really likes to use quite heavy compression running into the front of his amps. He usually likes to use an MXR Dynacomp, but pretty much any compressor would do the job well. So for the main riff and leading all the way up until those classic arpeggios, I would say CE1 preamp and some compression through a Plexi amp and you're there. So let's take a look at the guitars. Again, Frusciante loves his Strat, but seems to play this song very often on a telly live. Let's play the same riff and see which one gets closer. Whenever I try and get the sound, I always have the best success with a Strat bridge pickup, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's what he used in the studio on this song. When we get to the bridge arpeggios, we hear a heavy delay sound enter the picture to fill the space and add some subtle modulation. John liked to use a Line 6 DL4 for a lot of his delay sounds, but again, you can use any great delay pedal. I'm using the Starlight by Universal Audio. Now we get to the absolute climax of the song and one of John's most aggressive solo sounds. For this, it's quite obvious that he used a big muff. There's no fuzz pedals out there that deliver that sound quite as well as a big muff. Running into a Plexi style amp and you're 100% of the way there. So that was a look at recreating one of Red Hot Chili Peppers' most iconic songs, and there's no denying how cool and massive the guitar parts in this song are. What song would you like me to look at next? Let me know down in the comments and I'll see you next time.